I'm fairly sure I've mentioned before that the inspiration for most of the monsters in these videos that I've come up with come from various sci-fi shows I watched growing up as a kid. There's a bit of a mix of Doctor Who in there, a bit of Babylon 5 and some X-Files. But if I look at the parasitic zombie mud in KALULI, if it comes from anywhere, it's Star Trek. I'd been a fan of the original series since I can remember, and I was the perfect age for The Next Generation when that landed. And the episode where they kill off Tasha Yar, man, that I remember that hitting hard. The fact they'd taken a main character and just killed her, no reincarnation or she comes back at the end of the episode, she's just gone, really stuck with me for a long time. And if I close my eyes, I can still see that kind of oily mud river creature with Riker trapped inside it, screaming as it envelops him. But it's fine. I don't need therapy or anything, like honest. I've either planned out or created so many bad guys now that I'm in the position where I worry it's all becoming a bit repetitive. I've been toying with the idea of some form of sentient mud monster for a while, but at the same time I was a little bit worried that another possession or another zombie themed monster would be too samey to some of the prior ones. But I do live by a rule that if it makes me feel uncomfortable when I read it back after I've written it, then it passes muster. And the idea that you might have mud that would swallow you up, cover your senses, get on your throat, stop you from breathing, and then reanimate you, possess you as a vehicle, well, yeah, that unnerved me. I usually have one image that pops into my head, which I then base everything else off in the planning stage. And for this, it was just that idea of a mud-covered arm lying on the floor, with it slowly being revealed that there's a human limb trapped underneath, which means I needed a sword, which also means I needed a Japanese-themed story. The Japanese invaded New Guinea in January of 1942, landing in the north of the island chain and then pushing on south through the jungle. For several months, Allied forces struggled to stop this advance, until eventually the horrors of jungle warfare did exactly that for them. As the Japanese were moving into the interior of the islands, Allied naval and aerial forces moved to cut off all access and resupply, effectively stranding 350,000 Japanese soldiers in New Guinea without the means to resupply themselves. Unable to move with ease through the jungle, tens of thousands of Japanese soldiers died of malnutrition or disease and reached a point where they couldn't mount offensive actions any further. And by the end of the war, over 120,000 Japanese soldiers had died in the jungle in New Guinea, never even reaching their main target of Port Moresby. As ever, take my pronunciation with a pinch of salt. The KALULI in question are the indigenous people of Papua New Guinea, and they very unwittingly found themselves dragged into World War II. They're a deeply spiritual race. They believe there is an unseen world beyond what we can see, and in it there are several parallel versions of humanity. They also believe the forests that they live in are full of unseen beings and spirits. Not sure they believe in mud monsters. That's a fabrication on my part. World War II would prove to have a long-standing and awful effect on the KALULI. They'd only made contact with European visitors for the first times in 1934, and a decade later found themselves in the middle of a global war. Many of the indigenous people of Guinea chose to help the Allied forces. They tended to their wounded, showed them pathways through the jungle, and assisted them between the Japanese landing sites and Port Moresby. But in doing so, they exposed themselves and their people to European diseases, and sadly that's something that's kept their numbers down into the low thousands up until the present day. You'll likely have noticed that production output over the summer months somewhat diminished. In part, that's due to the shift pattern I started working this year, impacting on my free time. It's also in part due to the fact that I've got a bunch of kids and they've spent all the summer school holidays in the house using every device and the internet, which means I can't do much other than write and cry. One unexpected success was the Wookiee Hole video, which got a ridiculous 32,000 views, seemingly out of nowhere. This did turn out to be a bit of a double-edged sword because we've got a bit of a mini subscriber bounce, but a lot of the people who aren't familiar with the work in the channel were quite critical. Seems a lot of people who just stumble across things on the internet don't bother to check out whether it's fiction, and then get very upset about when certain tanks were involved in World War One and weren't. The most hilarious and I suppose disappointing critiques were that the script and the voiceover have both been done using AI. I know I'm monotone, but I don't think I sound AI. And all I can do is promise you that I don't really use AI for anything. I mean, if I did, things would probably look a bit more professional, wouldn't they? Bit sad, isn't it? People just want to bundle in and put shitty comments and feedback without actually bothering to research anything. But hey, it's the internet, isn't it? It's where we choose to walk. Anyway, regardless, people are going to say what they want, aren't they? I'm still massively pumped by the feedback I get on here and the fact that people even bother to log in and view what I do. There's still quite a lot of stuff mapped out moving forwards, some new stories, some old stories, and I think we've got a year or two left in us yet. So once again, thanks for your support, thanks for your kind comments, thanks for sharing, and I will see you guys at the end of the next video.